A good evening from the sacred space at Titania's realm, where I don't live in your world, you live in mine. Although, with the crashing of the CERN Hadron Collider, a war in Iran, fuel prices soaring to the point of insanity here in Australia, which will bring the cost of food up and potentially cause famine and anarchy and chaos and riots and horror and more fragility for those of us already pushed to the edge of reason. I'm not sure what world we want to live in, because I can't provide any sanctuary here either, since I don't have food sources prepped and I don't have any money, and basically we're all fucked. But anyway, on a happy note, I got my hair done today, and I asked my beautiful hairdresser, I love her, I've been going to her for 15 years, that I want to dye it grey. So we've kind of blended it back so that, you know, my own natural greys can start growing through, and we'll probably have to do that for the next few sessions until my hair grows out, you know, the blonde foils, and I get my natural grey. It's kind of a disappointment because I actually, you know, can't afford it. I can't afford having my hair done anymore, and, you know, it's not a reflection on my hairdresser. Prices keep going up and everyone has to earn their living, and it's very expensive. It's very expensive now just to live. But anyway, I've gone grey, and it's sort of really turned out really well. I'm very pleased with it. It looks very nice, and I go back in 6 weeks to get, you know, just keep blending it through and another haircut. And, you know, life is pretty beautiful, but I'm still experiencing quite a lot of pain in my jaw. I had an early dinner or a late lunch when I left my hairdresser, Kylie, and came home and was very ill. So don't know what that was about. I was feeling quite weak, and I didn't do anything. I was just sitting in the chair, talking a lot to my hairdresser and the other lovely lady that was sitting having her hair done. So yes, it's the over talking, probably wore myself out. So that German professor who sneered at me and said, "You talk too much," was actually had me pinned right, didn't he? Have to be fair here. When you identify someone's personality flaws, you know, correctly, you've identified them. But anyway, I had the early lunch, early dinner. Late, it was about 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon when I went to eat. I was ravenous. I inhaled that food like it was the last meal I'm ever going to have. And anyway, came home and was very, very ill, but it's one of those things, with the tooth pain and all the Panadol. It's to be expected. I'm not upset about that. You know, I at least got the taste of the food. But of course, eating is problematic, and every time I eat, it causes all this area to swell up and flare up. So that was not pleasant. But anyway, the other client at my hairdresser, whose name was Sue, I think she was a nurse, my vintage, but I think she knew a fair bit about nursing. I got that feeling. She suggested that I go to the pharmacy or the chemist and get Panadol Osteo, because she said it will help with the teeth better. So I did. I went to the chemist and I bought some Panadol Osteo, and I took one. What time did I take it? It was only 3 hourly, and I've been trying to stick to the 4 hourly regimen or push it out to 6 hourly. So yes, it was 5:30. Yes, that's correct. So it was 4 hourly. Anyway, so I had the last Panadol Osteo tablets at 5:30 p.m. and oh, my light's flickering. I think it needs to be rewired. And it hasn't touched the sides. The ordinary plain Panadol actually was knocking the pain off for at least a couple of hours. So the Osteo hasn't worked at all. But it wasn't the brand name Osteo. They didn't have it. I just bought a generic one. So I don't know if that makes a difference. But yeah, it hasn't done shit. And I'm very, very sore. But, you know, I've had a lovely day. Got my hair done and feel all spruced up and tidy again. And I've not long got off the phone, had a long chat to my friend Tarina, who's also struggling with health issues at the moment. And we're both the same age, and we're kind of slammed with it every which way at the moment. So it's a worry. Anyway, and then I thought, I got off the phone from her because I'll wear her out too. She says I don't. She says I'm to stop saying that I talk too much and that people that put me down make me feel awful about myself. But, you know, I've had so many close friends drift away in the last 12 months that maybe it is something I'm doing wrong. You know, maybe I'm too negative or too apocalyptic or too cataclysmic. But I'm navigating through life alone with meagre resources and no family and very few rare and precious friends. So when I do speak to my few rare and precious friends, it's blah, 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 to the point where they have to tell me quietly to shut up because it's overwhelmed. I'm quite certain that it's a post-traumatic response too, because I'm even aware that I can't stop talking all the time. Like, you know, like I've got ADHD or something, except I don't actually suffer from that condition, but it's the behaviour is similar. Anyway, so I thought I could sit on the couch and close my mouth and rest and not talk and watch TV and maybe spin my fleece, which I didn't do last night. I was too tired, but I did 2 nights previous, which is a sign that I'm feeling a bit better, that I'm wanting to, you know, do my little activities. And spinning the fleece isn't hard, arduous work. It's just pulling and drawing, drafting and the fleece and letting the machine, the wheels spin it up. And it's not hard, but it's a lot of, you know, this motion with your hands, and I guess it is a form of exercise. So, and I've been going to bed earlier, which tells me that I'm not well, because I'm normally a night bird and I'm up all hours of the night. So I thought, you know, did I mention what time it is and the date? It's the 1st of April 2026. The time is currently 7:58 p.m. I can't remember if I mentioned the time and the date. I like to start my videos with just that basic bit of data, just, I don't know, kind of like a touchstone of reality in our inverted paradigm and world that's gone to hell in a handbasket and become increasingly more surreal as each day goes by. So there is that. So I like to have little elements of groundingness to ground me down to the Gregorian calendar and our year 2026 and our idea of reality. So on that note, while we're keeping it real and I'm holding myself together, sore tooth or no fucking, well, there's no tooth there, but this top one is hurting like fucking hell, excuse my very colloquial vulgarities. So that's a great worry. So there's no tooth down there, but the pain radiates from there to there and back again, which I guess is an improvement slightly on what was going on before. So we'll thank the goddess for that. We'll take each day as it comes, and we'll continuously, rebelliously and defiantly live our best lives, people of Earth. What do you reckon about that? Yes, well, so I thought we would continue reading from My Mistress's Sparrow is Dead, edited by Jeffrey Eugenides. First Love by Isaac Babel. So here we go, babies. I haven't checked to see if it's a very long story, so I won't be reading long stories because of the level of pain I'm in. No, it's not too long, only about 8 pages long, so that's not too bad. All right. So, welcome to Sacred Space, Titania's realm. Oh, by the way, my new snake personage acquaintance that is living in the banana tree right next door to my driveway gates has positioned her permanently in the banana tree. She was still there this morning when I left to go to my hairdresser at 11, and she was still there when I came back at 4:30. Yes, I think it was 4:30. So I will have to reach acceptance that that's where she chooses to be, and at least I know that she won't stray too far from that spot, because the behaviour of the last carpet python that camped out here and from October 31st, 2024 till Remembrance Day, 11th of November 2024, had her own little spot she chose under the dragon fruits and stayed in that same vicinity. So I'm assuming, it's an assumption because I guess snakes are each individuals and have their own behaviour patterns, but I'm assuming that this one is also wanting to do the same, either hibernate or shed her skin. And since she's been there in that particular tree since last night when I came home from Aldi with my groceries, and has been there all day. She's probably still there out there now, but it's night time and she might have gone off to go hunting for possums or rats or mice or something. So, anywho, which reminds me, I've got to quickly run out and bring the wild bird seed that I put out for the turkeys, because otherwise the possums get it. Just bear with me one moment. We've got all about that. By the gods. Right, here we go. Right, I'm back, but I'm too late. The turkeys have already eaten it all, and whatever was left has already been devoured by, no doubt, the possums or some other creature. It won't be the snake. I'm fairly certain that snakes don't eat seeds. So Anyway, so when I ran out to try and preserve what was left of the seeds, I realised, Chag Sameach Pesach, happy Passover to all my Jewish friends, family, subscribers, viewers. Have a wonderful Seder night. Clearly, as you can see, I'm not celebrating or observing Passover because kind of remembered and then forgotten, just now remembered, and I don't have family or friends or a Seder to go to. For non-Jewish people, a Seder is a ceremonial, beautiful meal and lots of prayers and kind of a celebration that happens on the first and second night of Passover, which always falls on the first full moon of, depending on the lunar calendar, it's either in March or in April, and generally coincides with Easter, which is coming up very soon, Good Friday. So it's a very holy night, and I'm choosing to spend it with you, reading on YouTube instead of with my Jewish community, reading the Haggadah and reciting all the prayers and songs and benching after the meal. Benching, not belching. And although, whatever happens, happens. And hiding the afikomen. And, I realised as I was walking back into the house, I thought, another year that I've been a lapsed, lost Jew. It's a bit tragic, actually, but without children or grandchildren or beloved ones to celebrate with, it's really not much point. And I don't have a congregation to belong to, so there is that. So anyway, to all of you who still have all those wonderful things, people who love you and a congregation to belong to, and a community that includes and embraces you and treats you with a modicum of kindness and respect, blessed be from Titania's realm, where the gods might be crazy, but we're all in harmonic resonance with all that is, all that was, and all that always shall be. Amen. V'salam. So, on that note, let us continue with First Love, Isaac Babel. When I was 10 years old, I fell in love with a woman called Galina Apollonovna. Something like that. Her last name was Rutsova. Her husband, an officer, went off to the Japanese War and returned in the October of 1905. He brought many trunks back with him. These trunks contained Chinese objects, screens, precious weapons, 30 poods in all. I don't know what a pood is. P-O-O-D. Some kind of weapon, I presume. Right. Kuzma told us that Rubtsov had bought these objects with the money he had made in military service in the Directorate of the Engineering Corps of the Manchurian Army. Not only Kuzma, but other people said the same thing. People found it hard not to gossip about the Rubtsovs, for the Rubtsovs were happy. Doesn't that drive people wild when other people are genuinely happy? Psychedelic dreamer sighs. Anyway, their house was adjacent to our property. Their glass veranda usurped a part of our land, but Father had not quarrelled with them on that account. Rubutsov, the tax assessor, had a reputation in our town as a fair man who maintained friendly relations with Jews. And when the officer, the old man's son, arrived back from the Japanese War, we all saw how well and happily they settled down together. Galina Apollonovna held her husband's hands for whole days on end. You really love someone when you want to hold their hand all the time. Sweet, isn't it? Oh, I remember that. Never mind. Mustn't think about it. She could not take her eyes off him because she had not seen her husband for 1.5 years. But I felt horror at her gaze, turned away and trembled. In her exultant eyes, I saw the wonderful, shameful life of all people upon earth. I wanted to fall asleep in an extraordinary slumber in order to forget about that life that exceeded all my dreams. But you can't forget, can you? When you were fed a lie and a delusion and a cosplay, and you, sweet, naive and gullible and maybe even a bit pathetic, believed it was real. But shh, psychedelic dreamer is awake now, and you can't fool me twice. Nevertheless, there were beautiful times when I was deluded and in love and frantically a bit silly. Frantically or frankly? Both. Frankly, frantically a bit silly. It was a nice little nightmare, marish, or moorish, desires, not just that boulevard of broken dreams and that streetcar that keeps running off the fucking wheels. Anyway, shh, I'm old now and I can relax. Relax. Galina Apollonovna used to stroll about the rooms with her hair down, wearing red shoes and a Chinese peignoir. Under the lace of her low-cut chemise, one could see the deepening and beginning of her white, swelling, downwards crushed breasts. I feel like going out tonight. It's just mad, isn't it, given how much pain I'm in? I do that. I go into manic denial and I go out and I dance till I drop and I come home and I'm ill for a week. That used to be my pattern. But I'm too old to carry on like that. and it behooves no one, not even me, just gave me sore feet and ill-bred contempt from other people that I was deluded enough to think loved me. Oh, greatest cello violinist, boom, boom, boom. Ah well, I had fun before I died, which was all I ever wanted, to at least live just a little with all the horror that I'd endured all my life. It was important to me to have some good, clean, albeit hedonistic fun. And they even wanted to take that away from me, the evil, dirty bastards. Well, now I have grey hair and missing choppers and pain, and don't worry, the mama tea will rise up again. She always does. It just gets harder and harder as I get older to have another zombie uprising. I mean, you have to laugh. And on her robe there were embroidered pink silk dragons, birds, and hollow trees. Sounds pretty, doesn't it? I love the beautiful embroideries that the Chinese people do. I love embroideries across all cultures. It's why I wear Mexican dresses, because I actually love the hand embroidered motifs, and Hungarian blouses I absolutely adore, and all the embroideries from all over the world, handmade with love and intentionality and joy and delight, often hard work too. There's nothing more beautiful than handmade artisan products made by people who are preserving their culture and their stories and their history via their art or textile embroideries, or however it presents itself. The stabbing in my jaw is really bad. I would have thought that the lady suggested the osteo might be better. You see, nothing works on me. I might even have to give in and just go to a hospital and demand stronger drugs. But although they keep treating me as if I am a drug addict, I actually try to avoid strong painkillers and opioids and all that kind of stuff, because look at me, Panadol doesn't even help. Anyway, we're reading a story to the people of Earth, Tanya Ahrens. Focus, Tanya Ahrens. My tea's gone bloody cold again, that's awful too. All day she lounged about with a vacant smile on her moist lips, bumping into the trunks that had not yet been unpacked and the gymnastic rope ladders that were littered about the floor. If she had bruised herself, she would lift her peignoir above her knees and say to her husband, "Give baby a kiss." And the officer, flexing his long legs and their narrow dragoon's trousers, their spurs, their close-fitting kidskin boots, would get down on the dirty floor and, smiling, moving his legs and crawling across on his knees, kiss the hurt place, the place where there was a swollen crease from the garter. I saw those kisses from my window, They caused me suffering. Unbridled fantasies tormented me. But this is not worth talking about. For the love and jealousy of 10-year-old boys are in every respect similar to the love and jealousy of grown men, except that in boys these feelings are more secret, more exalted, more ardent. He's right, you know. Puppy love is the most intense love most people will ever experience in their lives. Everything that comes after that is often just a mere cosplay and the shadow puppetry and a fucking fiasco. Ask me how I know. Oh, never mind. It's not all bad. Some of my grand passions that were actually, however briefly requited, were conflagrations of amazements. That was long, long ago now. For 2 weeks, I did not go to the window and avoided Galena until a chance incident brought us together. This chance incident was the anti-Jewish pogrom that in 1905 broke out in Nikolaev and other towns within the Jewish Pale. Crowds of hired murderers ransacked my father's shop and killed my grand-uncle Shoyle. All this happened in my absence, on the sad morning when I was buying doves from Ivan Nikodimich the hunter. Isn't that weird that on the first night of Passover, one of the holiest nights in the Jewish year, the story that just happened to come up to be due to be read tonight was a Jewish story. Synchronicity, people of Earth. For 5 years, my ears got stabbing pain now. Don't mind me, but I can put up with the tooth, but when my ear hurts as well, it's a bridge too far. Anyway. For 5 years out of the 10 I had lived, I had dreamed about doves with all the power of my soul. And then, when I had bought them, Makarenko the cripple had smashed the doves on my temple. Then Kuzma took me to the Ruptsovs. On the gate of the Ruptsovs' house, a cross had been drawn in chalk. They were left alone. They hid my parents in their house. Kuzma took me to the glass veranda. There in the green rotunda sat Mother and Galena. "We must wash," said Galena. "We must wash, little Rabbi. Our whole face is covered in feathers, and the feathers have blood on them." She embraced me and led me along a passage that had a sharp odour. My head lay on Galena's hip. Her hip moved and breathed. We arrived at the kitchen and Ruptsova put me under the tap. A tall goose was simmering on a tiled stove. Gleaming kitchen utensils hung along the walls, and beside the utensils In the cook's corner hung Tsar Nicholas, adorned with paper flowers. Galina washed off the remains of the dove that had dried on my cheeks. "You shall be a bridegroom, my little snub nose," she said, kissing me on the lips with her pouting mouth and looking round. "Little Rabbi," she whispered suddenly, "look, your papa is upset just now. He walks about the streets all day doing nothing. Why don't you call your papa home?" And through the window I saw the deserted street with an enormous sky above it, and my red-haired father walking along the roadway. He had no hat covering his lightly ruffled red hair. His cotton shirt front was turned askew and fastened by some button or other, but not the one it ought to have been fastened by. Vlasov, an emaciated workman in wadded soldier's rags, was following my father relentlessly. "Babel," he was saying in a hoarse, earnest voice, touching my father affectionately with both hands. "We don't need freedom so that the Yids can be free to haggle. Give light to the life of a working man for his labour, for this terrible, great labour. Give it to him, friend. Do you hear? Give it to him." The workman was begging father for something and touching him. Flashes of pure, drunken inspiration alternated in his face with dejection and sleepiness. "Our lives ought to be like those of the milk drinkers," he muttered, tottering on his unsteady legs. "Our lives ought to be like the milk drinkers, only without that old believer's God. It's the Jews who profit from him, and no one else." I beg to differ. If the Jews were profiting from God, where's my wealth that was torn from me by evildoers and envious, spiteful, bloodless curs? It's an anti-Semitic trope to assume that all Jews are rich, by the way. Motherfuckers. Happy Passover. I'm going to get triggered, aren't I? Yes. Never mind. Every story in this book contains some triggering for me. It's almost an exercise in masochism, which would be fine, except I'm not actually a masochist, so then I get enraged about the whole thing. But you know, the human condition, stories of our lives, and I am, after all, a shaman and a storyteller, so there is that. Not a good enough shaman to fucking heal myself and enrich myself so I'm not at the mercy of sadists. It's a disgrace, isn't it? It's a despair and a desolation and a dissolution, a desecration and a disgrace. But it's not completely my fault, so let us continue on with the story and succeed at what I can succeed at, which is speaking truth to power and holding my own integrity and maintaining the human condition and literature and wonder and occasional fucking awe. Here we go, babies. And Vlasov, with wild despair, began to shout about the old believers' God who took pity only on the Jews. Vlasov cried out, stumbled and tried to catch up with his unknown God, but at that moment a Cossack mounted patrol crossed his path. An officer in trousers with stripes down the seams and a silver parade belt rode at the head of the detachment, a tall peaked cap on his head. The officer rode slowly and without looking to either side. He rode as though he were in a ravine where one can only look ahead. "Captain," whispered Father when the Cossack drew level with him. "Captain," said Father, gripping his head, and he got down on his knees in the mud. "What can I do for you?" replied the officer, looking ahead of him as before, and he brought his hand in its lemon suede glove up to his peaked cap. Ahead, on the corner of Rybnaya Street, ruffians were smashing our shop and throwing out boxes of nails, the machines, and the new portrait of me in school uniform. "There," said Father without getting up off his knees. "They are smashing the things that are vital to me, Captain. And why?" "Yes, sir," the officer muttered, put his lemon glove to his cap and touched his reins. But his horse did not move. Father crawled in front of it on his knees, rubbing against its short, good-natured, lightly ruffled legs and its thick, patient, hairy muzzle. "Yes, sir," repeated the captain. He jerked the reins and rode away, the Cossacks moving off after him. They sat dispassionately in their high saddles. They rode through their imaginary ravine and disappeared from view at the turning into Sobornaya Street. Sobornaya Street. Then Galina again pushed me to the window. "Call your papa home," she said. "He hasn't had anything to eat since early morning." And I stuck my head out of the window. "Papa," I said. Father turned round when he heard my voice. "My little son," he mouthed with an inexpressible tenderness, and began to tremble with love for me. And together we went to the Rutsov's veranda, where Mother lay in the green rotunda. Beside her bed lay dumbbells and gymnastic equipment. "Lousy kopecks," Mother said to us in greeting. "Human life and children and our unlucky fortune. You gave them everything. Lousy kopecks," she shouted in a deep, hoarse voice that was not her own, and jerked on the bed and grew quiet. And then, in the silence, I hiccuped. I stood by the wall with my cap pulled down over my eyes and could not stop hiccuping. For shame, my little snub nose, Galena smiled with her disdainful smile and flicked me with her stiff peignoir. As she walked over to the window in her red shoes and began to hang Chinese curtains on the unusual window ledge. Her exposed arms drowned in the silk. The living tress of her hair moved on her hip, and I looked at her with rapture. A bookish, nervous boy, I looked at her as if she were a remote stage lit by many lights. And at the same time, I imagined I was Miron, the son of the charcoal dealer, who traded on our corner. I imagined myself in the Jewish Self-Defense League. And there I am, like Miron, walking in tattered shoes that are tied with string. On my shoulder, on a green cord, hangs a worthless rifle. I am kneeling by an old wooden fence, shooting back at the murderers. Behind my fence stretches a vacant lot, and in it there are piles of dusty charcoal. Dear Goddess. The useless rifle shoots badly. The assassins in beards with white teeth are coming closer and closer to me. I experience a proud sense of imminent death and see, high up in the blueness of the world, Galena. I see an embrasure cut in the wall of a gigantic house that is built of myriads of bricks. This purple house defies the lane in which the grey earth has been badly flattened. At its topmost embrasure stands Galena, flushed with a merciless winter gaiety, like a rich girl at a skating rink. With her disdainful smile, as she is smiling from the inaccessible window. Her officer husband, half-dressed, is standing behind her, kissing her on the neck. As I tried to stop hiccuping, I imagined all this so as to love Rubtsova more bitterly, more ardently, more hopelessly, and perhaps, because the bounds of sorrow are not great for one who is 10 years old. The foolish dreams helped me to forget the doves and the death of Shoyle. I might even have forgotten about these murders had not Kuzma come onto the veranda at that moment with that terrible Jew, Abba. It was dusk when they arrived, On the veranda burned a meagre lamp, somehow lopsided at one end. A blinking lamp, the spasmodic travelling companion of misfortunes. So I wasted $6 on Panadol Osteo, the generic brand. Hasn't done shit for me. I'll just go back to the normal Panadol, which gives me a tiny bit of relief. And we'll just carry on, people of Earth. We'll just carry on. Dear Goddess. I've got Grandad all dressed up nice, said Kuzma as he came in. He lies there very handsome now. And look, I've brought someone from the synagogue. Let him say something over the old man. And Kuzma pointed to the bored beadle Abba. Let him whimper for a bit, said the yard keeper amicably. If the beadle stuffs his gut, he will bother God all night. He stood on the threshold, Kuzma, with his good-natured broken nose, turned in all directions, and was about to describe with as much emotion as possible how he had bound the dead man's jaws. But father interrupted the old man. If you please, Rebaba, said father, say a prayer or two over the deceased. I will pay you. But I fear you will not pay, Abba replied in a bored voice, putting his bearded, fastidious face on the tablecloth. I fear you will take my money and go away with it to Argentina, to Buenos Aires, and open there a wholesale business with my money. A wholesale business, said Abba, giving his contemptuous lips a chew and pulling towards him the Son of the Fatherland newspaper that lay on the table. In this newspaper, there was a report about the Tsar's manifesto of 17th October and about freedom. The citizens of free Russia, Abba spelled out, chewing his beard which he had stuffed into his mouth. Gross, but whatever, not my problem. The citizens of free Russia, a bright Sunday of Christ's resurrection to you. The newspaper was sideways before the old beadle, swaying. He read in sleepily sing-song fashion and pronouncing the Russian words he did not know with extraordinary stresses. Abba's stresses were like the indistinct speech of a Negro who has just arrived in a Russian port from his native land. They made even my mother laugh. I am committing a sin, she cried, leaning out from the rotunda. I am laughing, Abba. Say, better, how do you live and how is your family? Ask me about something else, Abba muttered, without releasing his beard from his teeth and continuing to read the newspaper. Ask him about something else, father said after Abba, and he went out into the middle of the room. His eyes, smiling at us through tears, suddenly turned in their orbits and fixed themselves on a point that was visible to no one else. Oi, Shoyle, Father articulated in a level, false, preparatory voice. Oi, Shoyle, dear man. Father's face, which had tightened into a spasm, was rent by exultation, and he was preparing to bawl as Jewish widows bawl at funerals, or like old women in Morocco, old women who have landed in misfortune. We saw that he was going to bawl horribly, and Mother gave us advance warning. Manners, she cried, growing instantly distraught and beginning to tear at her husband's breast. Look how our child suffers. Why do you not hear his little hiccups? Why is this, Manus? And Father fell silent. His dying eyes were surrounded by tears. Well, Rachel, he said fearfully, I cannot tell you, Rachel, how sad I am about Shoyle. He went into the kitchen and returned from it with a glass of water. Drink, artiste, said Abba, coming over to me. Drink this water, which will help you just as a censer helps a dead man. And true enough, the water did not help me. I hiccuped all the more fiercely. A snarl escaped from my breast. A swelling, pleasant to the touch, rose up on my throat. The swelling breathed, filled out, covered my gullet, and tumbled out of my collar. With it bubbled my lacerated breath. It bubbled like boiling water. And when, towards night, I was no longer the lop-eared boy I had been throughout all my previous life, and became a writhing ball rolling in my own green vomit, Mother, wrapping herself in her shawl and gown, taller and more shapely, approached the rigid, roofed sofa. Dear Galina, said Mother, in a loud singing voice, how we are troubling you, and dear Nadezhda Ivanovna, and all your family. How ashamed I am, dear Galina. With flaming cheeks, Mother pushed Galina towards the door. And then she rushed up to me and stuffed her shawl into my mouth to suppress my groans. Be brave, dear son, she whispered. Be brave, my poor bubble. Be brave for Mama. But even if I had been able to put up with it, I would not have done so, because I no longer had any feeling of shame. I tossed about on the bed and, falling to the floor, did not take my eyes off Galina. Fear was shaking the woman and making her writhe. I snarled in her face so as to prolong my power over her. I snarled in triumph and exhaustion with the ultimate exertions of love. Thus did my illness begin. I was 10 at the time. In the morning I was taken to see the doctor. The pogrom continued, but we were left alone. The doctor, a fat man, found that I had a nervous illness. This illness, he said, occurs only in Jews, and among Jews it occurs only in women. So the doctor was surprised to find I had such a strange illness. He told us to go to Odessa, and the professors as soon as possible, and there await the warm weather and the sea bathing. And so we did. A few days later, I travelled with Mother to Odessa to stay with grandfather Levi Yitzchok, they've spelt it. Levi Yitzchok, we'll go with how they spelt it. Yitzchok, Isaac, close enough. And Uncle Simon. We sailed in the morning by steamer, and by midday the brown waters of the Bug gave way to the heavy green swell of the sea. Before me opened life in the home of crazy Uncle Levi Yitzchok, and I said farewell forever to Nikolaev, where 10 years of my childhood had passed. And now, when I remember those sad years, I find in them the beginning of the ailments that torment me and the causes of my premature and dreadful decline. The end. I won't continue on with the next story. Let's see how long it is though, because I am in a fair bit of pain today. Well, every day. Some days more than others. Tomorrow's going to be a long story, so I'll have to reserve my mana, my power, my mojo, my chutzpah, my power for tomorrow. Actually, it's going to be a very long story tomorrow. It'll probably be a 2 or 3 video one if I break it up. So yes, hasta mañana till we meet again, my beautiful, courageous, audacious, chutzpahdik, brave, wonderful, amazing, supportive, nurturing, encouraging, motivating, soul nourishing, wondrous people of earth, and subscribers, my viewers, my friends, family and countrymen, and all other interdimensional entities that stumble across our videos and put in little cameo appearances from time to time, although they've been, quiet lately. I wonder if Cynthia Snake is still out there. I named her Cynthia because I can't remember when now, about a week or 2 weeks ago, when I was falling asleep, I was gifted a series of words all starting with C. One was Cynthia, and I said, I don't know anybody named Cynthia. Maybe I met someone, in the course of my interactions out in the world, but I hadn't met anyone named Cynthia. What was the other words they told me? Collaboration, which I indeed have collaborated with trying to get my teeth fixed, was a intense collaboration and, in my honest opinion, a bloody mistake, but never mind, we find these things out after the event. And horror upon horror upon horror laid upon it. But never mind, it was a journey that I guess I had to be put on so I could see what's actually going on in our, yet again, can actually bear witness to what's going on in our Queensland health system, which is abhorrent. And what was the other thing, the other words they gifted me? Colloidal silver, which I said, how do you take that? And they said, put it under your teeth, under your tongue. I haven't done that because I Googled it and it said it's potentially toxic to ingest silver, even though it's in particles in solution. And I figure I've inhaled a fair bit of silver in the last 5 years since I started the silver smithing journey, and don't really want to start taking silver, colloidal silver, but that was one of the things, the words that the Spirit gave me. Collaboration, colloidal silver, clematis, which I had to Google again. It's a vine, a beautiful flower, which is used as a component in rescue remedy, which by the gods I needed rescue remedy going through this recent debacle with the dentistry and all of that nightmarish horror. But and instead I resorted in the end to Valium, and they tried to imply that I'm a drug addict because I needed Valium to go and be systemically abused some more. Of course you need Valium. You need your fucking head examined to even go back for more and more of that putrescence. Anyway, what was the other word they gave me? There was about 5 or 6 words. If I remember correctly, it was clematis, because I took notice, because I knew it had to have some other significance than just being a flower. Colloidal silver, the name Cynthia, collaboration. Oh yes, the last word they gave me was creation, which I took to mean, creativity, but I guess they mean in the broader concept, God, who is the creator. So yes, I didn't meet any human being named Cynthia, and I wondered what they meant by that. But when this serpent took up residence last evening at my front gate, I didn't really think of it then, but this morning when I got up, I went, there you are. Your name is, I'm going to name you Cynthia, since that name had been suggested to me only, 2 weeks prior, and here she is manifested in the form of a carpet python. So I don't know how long this one's going to reside at sacred space, and I'm not all that thrilled about her choice of positioning herself next to my driveway gates, because I have to go in and out. Actually, I probably should warn Rati that she's there, but she's not really obvious because she tucks down in under the inside the trees. So no, I think it'll be fine. She might not even be there in the morning. The snake, I mean, she might have found somewhere else to go. So we won't panic about that. But because I just don't want Rati to get a fright. This massive big snake appearing when she comes through the gates. But you know, like I said, this morning and this afternoon, she's tucked well out of sight. I took a photo of her and put her up on my Instagram and Facebook just to show people that she's still there, and she is a beautiful snake. But I am a little bit weirded out because I don't, you know, like I say, I can't control where she's going to be each day and where she might turn up. And I'll have to be very cautious when I put my birdie boys outside, that she doesn't try and get inside their cage and eat them. So it's going to ruin their mojo for a while because, you know, I was terrified when the last snake, Sybil, was here that she might eat Charlie. So yes, it was 2025 because Charlie died on 26th of January 2025, so it was 2024 when Sybil was here. Actually only a few short months before Charlie's death, so I hope that's not a fucking harbinger of doom, that something horrible's going to happen here at Sacred Space. I don't think so. I think it was just a kind of an odd coincidence, but anyway, we'll see. I'll have to see where Cynthia is camped out tomorrow. I'm hoping that she's either gone back into the forest or gone back up into the roof or somewhere that's not next to my car and the front gate. But I've got no plans to go anywhere tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'm going to try and rest as much as possible because, you know, my face and my jaw's hurting, and I did a lot of talking today. A lot. I wore out my hairdresser Kylie and her other client. I wore out Tarina, and I've worn myself out. But what can I say? I guess it's kind of staving off death. If I'm talking, I'm awake and functioning and thinking, am I right? It's kind of an undercurrent of some kind of fear of, you know, not surviving this health crisis. I consider it a crisis. I've had teeth pulled before. I mean, I've survived them each time, but this one feels a bit more of a crisis because of the awfulness connected to it all, and the ongoing pain, and the fact that there's a war and there's going to potentially be food shortages now, and I don't have any extra food stockpiled or extra money, and I'll be all right because I always get through, you know, one way or the other. But it's just a bit of a humbling, scary feeling at the moment. And, you know, anyway, in the meantime, living in the eternal now, like the eternal optimist that I am, my hair looks good. So, I mean, you have to laugh. It's a bit frivolous and nonsensical, but, you know, everyone wants to have some feelings of some modicum of aesthetic appeal and vanity. And anyway, as I say, when it all grows out and it's all, my natural greys all come through, I won't be expending as much money as I have been in the last few years, you know. And my hairdresser was always, you know, has always been, let me phrase that correctly, you know, very kind to me. I consider her a friend, and you know, gives me a spruce up every couple of months so I can continuously live my best life. So there is that. But anyway, I'll be back crawling into bed now, I think. I was thinking about watching some television, but, you know, it's Passover and I need to rest. So I'll probably be back tomorrow afternoon or evening with another story, with that other story. What was it titled? Tonka by Robert Musil. It's a very long book, very long story. So anyway, blessed be from the sacred space at Titania's realm. And yes, remember to always, no matter what, live your best life with harm to none, competition with none, and take joy and delight in all that is, was, and never shall be, and in your own becoming a greater version of yourself, and in your own body, mind and spirit. And if you're struggling with health, medical or dental issues like me at the moment, I pray for you all and myself, healing, vitality, and greatest manifestations of our own individual power, and overcoming all obstacles, and peace and prosperity, and Jewish greatest love, and community, and, you know, family or friend or networks of support, people who see you and love you and treat you with kindness, which is what we all actually, each individual soul deserves. So bye for now. Have a wonderful evening.